Single dad CEO, Millionaire, rescued a little girl from the hailstorm. She said, "My mom used to tell me about you." The town's annual spring fair had always been a cheerful event. Cotton candy stands, paper lanterns, carousel music humming in the background. That morning, the sky had been clear, the air soft with the scent of blooming dogwoods. Aubrey Bennett, dressed in her raincoat and worn sneakers, led her preschool class through the rows of colorful booths. Her long blonde hair was braided loosely on either side, tucked behind her ears. She held tightly to a clipboard with the children's names and emergency contacts, her eyes constantly scanning the group. Luna, in her favorite pink dress and flower-covered rain boots, clutched a small plastic cup of lemonade and skipped ahead to the puppet show tent. "Stay close, sweetheart," Aubrey called after her, her voice firm but gentle. Then the sky cracked open. It happened in a blink. Thunder roared without warning, and seconds later, ice began falling. Sharp, fast, heavy. The joyful noise of the fair turned to chaos. As parents grabbed their children, vendors scrambled to cover their wares, and teachers shouted names into the rising wind. "Hail! Everyone inside the Civic Center!" someone yelled over a loudspeaker. Aubrey turned in a circle, counting heads. "Cameron, Sophia, Nolan. Where's Luna?" Her chest tightened. Luna. The child was nowhere in sight. Aubrey's heart dropped as panic surged through her veins. She pushed through the crowd, calling her daughter's name again and again, her eyes stinging, not from the hail but from fear. A block away, the tinted windows of a sleek black SUV rolled silently down as it pulled to a slow stop near the park's edge. Jackson Wolfe, freshly out of a high-stakes investor meeting at the nearby Civic Center, had planned to take a brief walk before heading back to his office. But now, through the blur of falling ice, something small and pink caught his eye. A little girl. She was curled up beneath a bench at the edge of the path, arms over her head, her knees drawn in. Hailstones the size of marbles bounced off the concrete around her. Her tiny body shook. Jackson didn't think. He shoved his door open, ignoring the pelting ice, and sprinted across the street. The hail pounded his shoulders and back as he dropped to one knee beside her. "Hey," he said, his voice low but clear. "You're okay now." Wide blue eyes peeked up at him. Her lips trembled. "I lost my mommy," she whispered. "It's all right. I've got you." He shrugged off his wool coat and wrapped it around her small frame, lifting her gently into his arms. Her fingers clung to his collar, her face pressed against his shoulder. Once inside the SUV, he turned up the heat and buckled her into the passenger seat, draping a dry blanket over her. She looked at him, cheeks flushed, hair damp against her forehead. Then she said, barely above a whisper, "My mom used to tell me about you." Jackson blinked. "What did you say?" She smiled shyly, a tiny dimple appearing in her left cheek. "She told me stories about a man who was brave and kind. I think it was you." For a moment, Jackson couldn't speak. The storm outside continued its rampage, battering the roof of the car. But inside, something in his chest stirred, something that hadn't moved in a long time. That voice, that face. Something about her felt hauntingly familiar. He glanced again at the girl beside him. What stories had her mother told? And why did he feel like he had heard her voice? Somewhere, once, on a quieter day, in a different life. He didn't know her name. Not yet. But somehow, it felt like she already knew him. The hallway outside the community medical center buzzed with voices, nurses calling names, children crying, parents speaking in hurried tones. Aubrey pushed through the crowd, breath shallow, eyes darting through open doors and corners. "Excuse me," she said to a nurse, her voice tight. "My daughter's missing. Luna Bennett, 5 years old, blonde hair, pink dress. We got separated during the hailstorm." The nurse scanned a clipboard and nodded. "Room 7, straight down the hall, then right. She's safe." Safe. The word nearly brought Aubrey to her knees. She stumbled forward, her feet moving on instinct. When she reached the doorway, she stopped, breath catching in her throat. Through the small glass window, she saw him. Jackson Wolfe. He sat on a small plastic chair, awkwardly hunched forward, gently patting dry the curls of the little girl in front of him. His expensive gray suit jacket was draped over the back of the chair, sleeves damp and wrinkled. His tie was loosened, and his white shirt clung to him in places from the storm. But it wasn't the disheveled look that hit her. It was his face. Gone was the polished, unreadable executive expression. Instead, his eyes were focused, tender, his brow furrowed as he worked, quietly attentive, as if nothing else in the world existed but the child in front of him. And Luna sat calmly beneath his touch, eyes closed, peaceful. Aubrey stepped into the room. "Mommy!" Luna cried, springing from the chair and throwing herself into her arms. "This is the man from your stories, right?" Aubrey froze. The sentence hit harder than thunder. She had never said his name. In 5 years, she had told Luna only fragments, stories of a kind man who once made her laugh, then vanished. A man who never knew what he left behind. And now, that man stood before her. Jackson looked up. His eyes met hers, and for a moment, time fractured. The air between them thickened, heavy with memory. "Aubrey," he said softly. She felt her heart stutter. "Hi." Silence stretched between them. Luna clung to her side, watching with curiosity. "You still wear your hair the same," he said after a moment, his voice quieter. Aubrey reached up, brushing a braid. "I didn't think I'd ever see you again. Not like this." Jackson stood slowly. He was broader than she remembered. Or maybe time had just made him seem larger. He looked the same, yet not. Older, but grounded. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. "I am now," she whispered, squeezing Luna close. Jackson's eyes dropped to the little girl. Something flickered there, something deep, unreadable. Aubrey could see him trying to piece things together, but he didn't ask. Not yet. She stepped back before any of it could surface. "Thank you," she said. Her voice trembled. "For helping her." Jackson gave a small nod. His eyes lingered on Luna a second longer, then shifted back to Aubrey. There was something unspoken behind them, curiosity, maybe, or recognition. Without another word, Aubrey turned and guided Luna toward the hallway. The crowd had thinned. Her heartbeat hadn't. She couldn't resist. She looked back. Jackson was still standing in the same spot, his tall frame silhouetted by the light inside the room. He hadn't moved, and something about that stillness told her this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. The next afternoon, Jackson sent a message, a simple one. "Coffee?" Aubrey stared at the text longer than she needed to. 6 years had passed, and yet, the weight of one word could still make her chest tighten. She agreed. They met at a small cafe by the lake, once their favorite spot, back in the days when things felt new and full of maybes. It had not changed much. The same ivy climbed up the side walls, and the same creaky chairs still lined the porch that overlooked the water. Jackson arrived first, seated outside under a pale green umbrella. He stood when she approached, his hand brushing the back of his neck, like it always did when he was unsure what to say. "Aubrey," he greeted. She smiled politely. "Hey." They sat, ordered, and for a while, said nothing that really mattered, talked about the storm, the weather, the town's rebuilt library. But silence has a way of tugging old threads, and soon enough, the careful words gave way to truth. "It was 6 years ago," Jackson said quietly. "Feels like a lifetime. Or 10. Aubrey looked down at her cup. "Sometimes it feels like yesterday." He hesitated, then said, "Back then, I was building something, or at least trying to. My entire focus was on the company. My pitch deck was practically a second language. And the investors were circling. New York wanted me." She nodded slowly. "I remember. I told myself I had to go," he continued, "that if I didn't make it happen then, I'd lose everything. But I didn't see what I was already losing." Aubrey was silent for a long time. Then she said softly, "We never really ended, did we?" He shook his head. No, I think I just disappeared. Thought I was doing the right thing. You didn't even say goodbye. I know. His voice cracked slightly. I told myself it was just temporary, that once things settled, I'd come back. But I didn't. I wasn't brave enough. Aubrey looked out toward the lake. The reflection of the sky shimmered on the surface,